my friends, my Romans, my countrymen, lend me your ears because this is another episode of, hey, did you see this one? And on today's episode, I, of course, forgot to put the episode name at the top because, that's what I do. But we are doing Rumble in the Bronx, and I'm going to pin it to the bottom. So, in our typical fashion, I think the first thing we do is talk about our history with the movie.
I probably have the least amount of history with this movie. I wasn't even certain that I had seen it until it got to the end of the movie, and I was like, "Oh, hovercraft! Yes, yes, I have seen this movie." A lot of Jackie Chan's earlier movies, I think anything like pre Rush Hour is it kind of all bleeds together in my mind. And I think that, a reason for that is that after Rush Hour, he sort of gets paired up with, a recognizable North American actor. So like Rush Hour obviously is with Chris Tucker, and then Owen Wilson for the Shanghai movies, and then it kind of just goes from there.
Jaden
Um,
Smith.
yeah, yes. But I mean, everything before that, not only were they sort of like, my parents wouldn't have let me watch a lot of these when I was a kid because my mom told me that all violent movies were scary. So if it had too many punches and kicks in it, not for me.
Speaking of
But
scary, that alley fight.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was pretty brutal.
we will get to that, and we will get to the infamous wood chipper scene as well.
But yeah, I guess my memory of this movie is that I didn't even remember that I had seen it until it got to the hovercraft part, and I was like, oh, I have seen this. Now I remember it. Not anything else, just the hovercraft.
The hovercraft is what stood out for you, eh?
I mean, as a kid,
yeah,
watching it as an adult, it was probably the most boring part.
I remember very distinctly. What year did this come out? 1994 or 95?
I believe it was 5.
Yeah, I remember very distinctly renting this movie for a sleepover with my friend, also named
Oh,
Jason.
sleepovers.
I would have been 10 years old when this movie came out, and I remember it being awesome as a kid. And then it was one of those movies. You know how like somebody would be like, "Hey, did you see this one?" Like unironically, and you're like, "Oh yeah, it's a movie I saw when I was like a kid," and you may or may not be telling the truth. Well, this is one that I definitely saw when I was a kid and forgot everything about, except for the bottle scene and the hovercraft and the fact that he broke his leg and was wearing a boot for like the last act of the movie. Um, but this movie is synonymous to me with like, you know, Ghostbusters action figures and Jurassic Park and all the shit Weird Al, all the shit I was into in 1994, 1995. And it's funny too because this movie, it rides the line between like adult action movie, like like a Van Damme movie, and just absurd, almost anime level comedy. The jokes in this movie aren't like very direct. They're very subverted most of the time. My favorite joke in the whole movie is right at the beginning, and I'm sure it's not in the Japanese or the Chinese version of this movie, where they're speaking with subtitles and they're like, "So, how long are you here for? How's your English?" And then and then Jackie Chan's like, "It's not bad." And then let's use it. And then they completely transition into ADR. It was fucking brilliant. It was the funniest. I forgot about that joke, and like I said, I guarantee it's not in the Chinese version. It's probably just to bring it over here and put it in American theaters. But that leads me to wonder what's happening. Are there Chinese voiceovers in the Chinese version of Rumble in the Bronx?
It's probably
For the
subtitled in Cantonese because the people who are speaking English in the movie, like the wife, she's saying those lines in English. You can read her lips while she's saying
Yeah,
her lines. And
yeah,
same with the gangsters. They're all speaking English, but I think just for continuity in terms of audio, they're dubbing everything because if they recorded the audio on location and played that audio next to ADR, it would be so jarring for your brain to comprehend. Also, they just didn't have to record any audio. They're just like, let's not
Yeah,
worry about microphones. We'll deal with this later.
interesting. Yeah, I was thinking about that possibly as well. So, Caylen, it's your birthday month still. You wanted this to be the third movie of the Cavalcade of Caylen's comedies, I guess.
Stunted comedies.
Caylen's Cavalcade of Stunted Comedies, November. What made you choose this one? Because out of the three we've done, this one is much more in line for this particular show that we've come up with here. I feel like The General was like an out of left field surprise, and I feel like we did it service last week, but Benny and June wouldn't be our typical movie. But this right here is kind of the spirit, because this is one of those like, hey, have you ever seen Rumble in the Bronx? And most people have.
Yeah.
So Jackie Chan, the way it kind of ties in, outside of the obvious stunts and comedy, Jackie Chan was inspired a lot by Buster Keaton, which I think really comes through with like a lot of his scenes, like when he's doing like when he's trying to defend himself and he's using his surrounding like to his advantage for like his evading attacks or using them for kind of like weapons or whatever the case is, but like using the surrounding around him, you can kind of see that Busker-esque Buster Keaton-ness from him.
I get that, and also it's a good point. He does all of his own, every single stunt in that movie, I'm pretty sure, was him. Because nobody else can. It's like a situation like Buster Keaton where nobody else can actually do those stunts. So why would you hire a stuntman? You just have to get like triple the insurance on your lead actor.
He did have a stuntman that like kind of performed the stunts as well. Like basically, like his saying was he wouldn't ask someone to do something that he wouldn't do himself or something like that. Or actually, no, that might not have been the stuntman. It might have been the director or something. But when he does the jump from the parking lot to the fire escape or whatever, the next building, whoever, it might have been the director, it might have been like a stunt coordinator, but they did that as well. They did it with wires, but they did it as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That jump is crazy.
Earlier, yeah, I was trying to be pretty eagle-eyed because I know that Jackie Chan pretty much like his entire career, even up until recently, he does everything himself, right? And so I was trying to, at every moment possible, be like, where is he not doing it? And even the car stunts where the car is flipping around and doing crazy shit, he'll like look up and you're like, that's him in there still. Like he did that car stunt. Usually they'd have a stunt driver to do that because Jackie Chan, he can do all the flips and kicks all day long, but he can't do that with a car. But no, he can do that with a car as well. And it's like you think about he was a stuntman before he became a leading actor. Like he was a stuntman for years before he got a role.
Yeah, he went in like theater or whatever.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of Bruce Lee movies, I think, as well.
How old is this man? Like, is Jackie Chan like 75?
He was 41 in this movie.
Yeah, like he's got to be so. I remember when I was a kid, I was like, "This dude's old. How is he doing all this crazy shit?" And then finding out that he's got a video game for the TurboGrafx called Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu, which came out in like 1988. This video game
for PlayStation.
That's a good game. I remember that one. That's a good one.
But yeah, he was 41 when they filmed this, so I don't know. Quick math, he's probably
Rumble
in the 70s.
In Vancouver.
Yeah.
Also, do you think he wore the Canadian tuxedo as a head nod to Canada?
I think that was also just a very popular style in the mid 90s, early 90s.
Absolutely
I'm gonna
was.
start rocking it in normal.
You're pulling it off, man.
Yeah, no, you walk around my neighborhood, there's like a bunch of hipsters wearing that, so it's back. It's back, baby.
Nice.
You just gotta roll the pant legs up here above your ankles.
And get a Megadeth patch for the back of it.
Which one's Megadeth?
Oh my god. Not Metallica. The other one.
Do they do What's the one with the priests in the music video for like a school talent show?
Oh, that's Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost. I know that one.
That's newer. That's pretty new. That's Ghost is my like current favorite band. We're not here to talk about Ghost, Caylen.
Yeah, you guys are losing me on this, and our audience.
Actually,
What?
we just
I
got
think we got
you.
an
We
extra
just
one,
got.
right?
Oh, keep
brought
talking about
into
Megadeth.
people.
Keep talking about Megadeth.
Ghost. Eddie.
I will say this though: this movie is a ride from front to back. There's not really like any dull moment. It's either there's something funny or silly going on, or it's action. From the get-go. He gets to the airport. His cart runs away. Laugh.
The fight choreography in the main fight segments are all so well done too, because Jackie Chan doesn't do that thing where. I guess we'll transition into our synopsis segment. Caylen, I don't know if you answered the question though. What did you just love this movie as a kid?
Right. So this is definitely a movie from my childhood, and I was just blown away with what like he was doing. And then at the end, I think this might have been at least the first movie I've seen with end credits. Right. I feel like Ferris Bueller is maybe one of the first movies to ever do end credits, but this is one of the first movies I remember seeing with end credits, and like just seeing that he was actually doing all those stunts, and like it blew my mind. And then like, but also like having fun, like it wasn't just like a serious action, like there was fun to it, which, you know, as a kid or whatever kind of helped make it more viewable.
Yeah. Those end credits though have their own comedic nuance to them though, because it's like they'll show somebody do a stunt from earlier in the movie, and then they get taken out on a stretcher.
Yeah,
and I was like,
it's not a gag reel in the typical sense. It's not like a yuck reel. It's like
but it's played
gag because you're like, oh my god.
It's played for laughs because the way they frame the shot, and then it just smash cuts to somebody getting taken off in a stretcher. And by the fourth time they show one of these things, they're like, oh, they're making a joke here. And you're right. Do you mean like when you say with end credits, you mean like something happening during the end credits?
Yeah.
Well,
he meant a gag reel, obviously. Yeah. Every
Oh,
single
okay.
movie has end credit. But like the movies that play like, you know, a blooper reel at the end, this is technically a blooper reel, except the bloopers aren't like somebody flubbing their line. It's somebody breaking their ankle.
It was like it
whoopsies.
reminded me of Jackass. It reminded me of like Jackass,
Right.
but we're watching people just like hurt themselves.
Get horribly injured.
But it's not the main focus of the movie.
I think I've said this to you before, Jason. I have what I like to call horrible physical empathy, where when I'm watching somebody get hurt, my body convulses as though I am getting hurt, and I'm like, no, I can't watch this. So
that's part of why I couldn't handle horror movies as a kid.
Right. That's why I can't handle watching people getting hurt in reality, because my body flinches as though I'm completely immune to like all fake violence and fake injury, but when I know that it's real, my body reacts in ways that is unpleasant. So I could not watch this gag reel at the end because I was like, no, my ankle's breaking.
My ankles they're broken.
Yeah,
that one did look pretty bad.
Oh, I knew they were going to show him jump from the like bridge to the hovercraft, and I was like, oh fuck, are they going to show him like he's kind of obscured by somebody, by like something in front of him, or by like his other leg? But I was like, if he had hurt himself to the point that he had to be in a crazy cast for the movie, his ankle definitely fucking goes sideways. Anyway, so I guess we'll transition over to the synopsis portion. I did have a point I was going to make before I went back to Caylen, but I forget now. So just very quickly, the synopsis of this film is a guy comes over from China and stays with his uncle, who has a grocery store, who he's in the process of selling to some investors. and then also he's a karate master, and as you can see here, and he ends up defending the store from hooligans one day, and then they have a blood vendetta against him to pay him back for two things: the defending of the store, but also the night previous to them attacking the store, he stops them having a weird like motorcycle race, I guess.
Yeah, it was like race to the bag of money, but smash as many windshields as you can with your dirt bike before you get there. Race.
Yeah, like by driving over top, and the uncle's getting married to a black woman, and it's played for comedy, which it does not fly now.
Yeah, I went over my head that it was supposed to be comedic, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, and then
Yeah,
Ryan, I was watching with Ryan,
bad.
and he's like, oh, I know it's supposed to be a joke, but it is nice. And I'm like, it's supposed to be a joke? I'm like, oh yeah, this is 1995. It's
They
an
were
old
like,
Asian man marrying a young plus-size black woman. It's supposed to
yeah,
be hilarious.
because it's the
Yeah.
Bronx. Because it's
But
the Bronx.
they're not. It's not like they're goofy. It's like they clearly actually love each other.
Yeah,
Like, so it's like, okay.
right down to a scene
That
where they
kiss
come
was
in and they're
magical.
yeah, right down to a scene where they come in to go on their honeymoon and they're dressed in the same shirt,
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about.
which is comedy, like which is
Hey,
funny
Jason,
to me.
did you and Maddie ever do that?
Yeah, we no, we didn't do that specifically, but we have matching
Pajamas?
sweatsuits,
Nice.
like sweatpants and zip up. But
Oh, like
and
a
then Matt,
tracksuit?
well, yeah, but then they're black, and she took them and tie dyed them to look like the galaxy.
Yeah,
To look like a
you've
galaxy.
worn it on this
Oh, yes,
podcast
I think I
before.
remember you
Oh,
showing
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've worn those, and it was equally hilarious
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a large woman, black woman. I even like
At
can't
heart.
make the joke.
At heart,
I
at
can't.
heart, at heart.
I can't even like make the joke because it's so out of place. That said, for a 1995 movie, I'm surprised those goons didn't use the F slur or the R word, uh, which is good,
It's
I
because it
guess.
probably wasn't written into the script in Cantonese, and they're like, well, no need to have it because it
Yeah,
doesn't exist.
yeah. So basically, what happens is the Jackie Chan and the hooligans have some back and forth until they all become best buds because there's a greater threat, which is like these like stereotypical video game style mafioso guys that look like FBI agents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they all look like in the Matrix 2 when the agents get upgrades, but they look
yeah,
like something maybe went wrong with their code where they all look like goofy.
their eyebrows are all like a little
Yeah.
bit too low.
The
The
one
one guy
guy's
that kind of
head
looks like
tapers
Penn.
up.
Yeah, the guy looks like Penn Jillette. But like if Penn Jillette was even weirder looking.
The main one
Um,
looks like in Ninja Turtles, what the robot that Krang goes
yeah,
inside of.
I was like,
Yeah.
who does this dude look like?
Yeah.
Oh man,
Where's
yeah,
the
the guy,
lime? Where's the PC lime?
the PC Lime was we all were talking to each other on the chat on our hey, did you see this one chat where we sometimes talk about the movie, but usually we save it for the show. But this time I sleuthed, and it turns out Steve had already sleuthed, and
Oh
I
yeah, I
saw
had my eyes peeled for anything Canadian in this movie the entire time.
well, that's what made me wonder. That's what made me look it up. Actually, my wife was upstairs, and I was like, "Was this movie filmed in Toronto? Do you remember?" She was like, "No, I'll look it up. It was
And then you saw the
Vancouver."
Rocky Mountains in the background, and you're like, oh,
After I came back
Vancouver.
downstairs and I kept watching the movie, and I was like, "Oh, there's so many mountains everywhere."
Yeah. I had a Rocky Mountain spotter tracker where I was just every time I saw the Rockies in the background, I'm like,
What
yes,
was
the
your
beautiful
total?
New York Rocky Mountains. I had 11, but then by the end they kept showing the same locations over and over again, and I was like, this doesn't count because it's the same
Like a back and
place.
forth. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But there's a few times where you would even catch it in a reflection, like it would just be they'd be walking by a storefront or a car would pull up somewhere, and you just see the mountains in the background of the car. I'm like, that
Nice.
counts. That counts. But yeah, it was 11 total with 2 reflections. I put a reflection counter as its own category. We also had a few Canadian mailboxes. And then the one that you spotted, Jason, as well, was the President's Choice lime soda can that Jackie Chan didn't even get to finish before his scar
Nope.
was torn apart.
I recognized it immediately because that was one of my favorite pops when I was a kid. And the President's Choice logo um, was a staple in my household because I shopped at the Superstore, and that PC, like signed PC, I don't know what it looks like now. They may still use
I
that
think it's
logo,
the
but it's
same.
definitely, but it's smaller.
Yeah.
They don't plastered across the cans
No,
like
they
that.
have like a nice like regal looking like President's Choice written
Regal.
out, but then in the corner they still use that sort of fancy signature for most of their products.
But I did love that. I did love that flavor, so I recognized it immediately. Um, did you happen to notice if there were any Canadian street signs? Because
Oh,
if
I
you watch The
wasn't paying
Boys,
attention to that. No.
it's supposed to be like a New York adjacent kind of city, but it's so like it just looks like downtown Toronto if you just look
Oh yeah.
around.
If you
Because
live
it
in
is.
Toronto and watch The Boys, you're constantly like, I know where that is. I know where that is too. Oh, that's the Opera House. They just made it look like a bigger building. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Is that their main base downtown?
Yeah, the is it Roy Thompson Hall or is it?
I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah, and they just
I've
extend
seen
it.
concerts there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think me and you went to see something. Where was it? Where was I with you? Oh, we went to go see the Final Fantasy. That wasn't at the same.
That
That
was
was
at
the
the
Sony
Sony
Center.
Center. Yeah,
Opera playing
But
Final Fantasy music.
not opera, but
kinda.
it's a symphony, not opera. Opera is like story told through singing, and it's not as fun, I would say, because
No.
you got to pay attention to figure out what the hell's going on. That's more like a play. But yeah, if you're watching, I mean, we're not talking about The Boys, but their base when they're inside it, Roy Thompson Hall has a very interesting interior, and it has all these sort of like weird walkways everywhere. They use it in tons of movies. I think the original X-Men movie, they filmed some stuff in there. It's just the windows have these weird sort of metal piping that go through it, and
Yeah.
you see it all the time in The Boys. And it's like if you live in Toronto, you're like, I can't not think of this as the symphony. It's a superhero base. It's a superhero base.
So this is the scene that we brought up early in the show. If you're somehow listening to this in an audio version down the road, I have the movie on my TV behind me, and he's getting pelted with bottles, and it's one of the most brutal. It takes you right out of this movie, and it really shows like it really harkens back to old '80s like kung fu movies that were extra brutal. And up until this point, it wasn't brutal at all. And then he like smacks a woman, and then they all kind of turn on each other here. And we get our main antagonist and the sort of secondary main antagonist.
Their names are Tonio and Angelo.
Sorry, Tony and Angelo is the like worst one, right? And Tony is like the big boss who like immediately changes his stripes as soon as he gets beaten up on a pool table and drop kicked onto a
He took out the
table.
whole warehouse.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I would say that scene is definitely very brutal. I think it's the first time where they show someone who looks like they're grievously injured, which, obviously, and it's frighteningly filmed the way the glass is like shooting down the alley and everything, and he's pinned and there's no escape. But the fighting in that opening first fight when they're in the convenience store, it's pretty brutal as well. Like it is filmed like a typical kung fu movie where you feel the impact and everything is just like fast, hard cuts, and it's really heavy, and every impact is impressive, and you can feel it. It hurts, and like people are hitting stuff, and like they're going a foot and a half into it before things crumble down on top of them, and like North American action movies could never really get that right until I would say The Matrix, I think, is the only thing that finally realized like, oh, we need to hire people who know how to do this, who make kung fu movies and put this into a North American movie and get our actors to do it. So it's not obviously stuntmen everywhere. But yeah, and not to be reductive to the point you're trying to make, because it is definitely the most brutal scene in the movie, but I'm just trying to underline the fact that like every fight in this movie feels extremely brutal. Like ugh, the pool cues and like people getting slammed down and stuff. I'm like, those guys are getting bruises. Like they're going home and being like, I gotta put a nice pack on my body. It's not
I
like,
have a favorite kick that Jackie Chan does in like every movie he's in, where he does like he'll like punch a guy to the floor and then he'll do like either a flipping leg drop kick. He usually misses it because if he hits somebody with it, he'd fucking kill them.
yeah.
In this, he just does like he jumps up onto a table and he does it like he's doing a flying kick, but he brings the foot down onto the ground. It's hard to explain if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't
I know
seen
what you
it.
mean, yeah.
But it's like a leg drop basically from wrestling, but extremely fast, extremely quick, because everything he does is like cha 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 cha. And I don't know how. See, another thing I was wondering is how they get people to keep up with Jackie Chan, especially like just
one
regular.
thing that I noticed is that there is one stunt person, or like I guess they're also an actor because they have lines and stuff. But there's this one guy who's in almost every fight when it's him versus the gang, and I think that the answer to your question is that he works with people who are also just as good as he is. And those people are always the ones that he's sort of fighting with. But because there's so many gang members, you don't even really notice that unless you're really watching for it.
If there's more people, it probably helps space it out, yeah.
Yeah, because you knock one guy out of frame, and then one other person is kind of going at him for a bit, and then another person comes. But it's like, it's. I think the answer to that question is that there's like 2 or 3 that are keeping up with him, and then there's like 4 or 5 other ones that just come in and get blown out of the frame.
Do you mean the other Asian dude that's part of the gang who?
Yeah, he's wearing sort of like a suede, almost like cowboy jacket and a bandana. Yeah, he's like a little bit shorter. He gets, the part where the guy gets like hit off the bike in the parking garage by the whatever that thing is called, like the arm that comes down. He like just before that he throws him into the wall, and I noticed that because that guy looked like he got hurt. I'm like, ooh, that guy got hurt. And then I kept being like, hey, it's the guy that got hurt really bad earlier. And I kept seeing him in every fight scene.
He must be in Jackie Chan's like crew.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it for a second that if he went back and looked at movies before and after this, that guy probably is floating around in fight scenes wearing like a suit or a tuxedo in a Rush Hour movie, or dressed like a plays cowboy.
Goon directing traffic in a big multi-man brawl.
Mm-hmm.
He actually plays the tuxedo in the tuxedo.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is sort of we've gone over the plot. The movie, I don't know. Do we give away what happens at the end? Because really, what happens?
I mean, we didn't really give away the plot. We just like kind of walked ourselves up to when he gets the bottle smashed all over him, and like a diamond heist goes wrong with like some other
out
gang.
Of nowhere, diamond heist.
Well, it's like it's not even a diamond heist. It's just like another gang that isn't like the Mad Max gang that he's fighting, and isn't these like suit wearing mafia guys. It's just like a third other gang that tries.
They're like they're like Harlem. They look like they're from Harlem, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well,
they're dressed in like
black guys.
But they're extravagant clothes, like almost like pimp.
But they also had pimp style. I think they were supposed to be like Haitian gang. They had like a distinctive accent. I couldn't put my finger on what it was, but I think that was what it was like meant to be inspired by. Like they're wearing like nice suits, but they're also not wearing shirts underneath their suit jacket and stuff, right? It's like, okay, we get it. They're supposed to be very caricaturized. But I think it's implied that they try and take the diamonds or take the money without giving them the diamonds kind of thing. And then the heist goes bad, and then the mafia guys kill them. And then that Angelo guy finds the diamonds and steals the diamonds and hides the diamonds inside of the kid in the wheelchair's cushion. And all this crazy shit happens. And it's basically Jackie Chan, after going back to fight the gang members again for a third time, beats the living shit out of them in their own base.
Just destroys all of them this time.
And there's like,
and he's been having problems. He's been having problems with these guys throughout the whole movie, and he was able to go in there and handily destroy all of them.
Yeah.
It took 20 days to film that scene.
Yeah, I believe that.
I believe it.
Very long fight, and I assume so many people got injured.
Very intricate.
Well, he almost got his head fucking crushed by a pinball table, as shown in the ending credits segment. with the blooper reel, he's supposed to like fall down behind a pinball table and just get out of the way in the nick of time before it's pushed back on his head, but it does get pushed onto his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives him the old melon squeeze.
The old melon baller.
Yeah. This scene also has my favorite Jackie Chan stunt, which is in like every Jackie Chan movie, is that it's like a side shot where he's fighting a couple guys at once, and he'll be near like a filing cabinet or a fridge or cupboards or whatever. There's always a cupboard door, and he'll always like hit the other guy in the face with the door, and then like turn around and like hit the cupboard door the other way, smash a guy's finger or something. I'm like, yes, cupboard door fight. I love that.
My favorite thing he does in every movie, he also does in this scene, and that's where he slides through something he shouldn't be able to slide through.
Yeah, a tiny like a sunroof or a mail slot or like whatever.
Yeah, he does a few of those in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I got to interrupt right quick just because it's on the background. Why wouldn't you think a guy with a truck of balls would be nicer?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing in my truck?
What are you doing in there? But that scene was probably one of the more expensive scenes to shoot if they had to do it more than once. But it's also one of the best looking shots in the movie when the balls are bouncing everywhere with all the different colors. I really liked that.
I was just like, why is there not a tarp on top of this truck? Those balls are going to go everywhere. As soon as he gets over 50K, yeah. He hits the highway, balls everywhere. Yeah, no, I think it was just like they wanted something that would be visually cool, and like they're like, these things are cheap. They probably wanted it to be full of like oil drums or something crazy, and they're like, we can't afford that. Let's just get something cheap. Oh, these bouncy balls are cool. Are they? If you get enough of them, yeah.
We'll push it off a building and they'll bounce everywhere. It'll be sick.
But I agree, Caylen, that guy who was like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, can't you see that he's being chased by a bunch of crazy gang members with like chains and bats, and they're riding on motorcycles and they're saying, I'm going to kill you? Give him a break. Be like, he's not in here. I just need to deliver these balls to the local orphanage.
Alternatively, what happens in another cut is the guy's like, hey, what are you doing back there? And Jackie Chan's like, get me out of here. And then he gets him out of there, and then credits.
Then we don't get to see him jump across the buildings.
It's true.
Yeah. So
I think your mic moved.
Mine did?
Oh, there you are.
Oh, maybe I have to like I don't know if it's. Can you hear me fine? Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just when you like went like this, it sounded like we couldn't hear you for a sec.
Oh, weird. But that's how I think. I look off to the side to make thoughts happen. Where was I at? I was going to say, oh yeah, we'll just continue. The gangsters realize that they have the diamonds, and then they decide that they're going to use it as like a. What do they do? This part was kind of like weird to me, where they are like, we need this as a ransom, but they don't call them to do the ransom trade-off deal before the entire grocery store gets like pulled down by chains or whatever. Like,
I think it was.
He
Go ahead.
stole Tony's girl, isn't that? Oh no, never mind.
Yeah,
No,
they kidnapped.
It was like he okay. So they wire up Jackie Chan to go infiltrate these mafia goons,
Mhm.
and then he's doing a good job. He's like, so tell me about this thing that happened with the
Right,
diamonds.
yes. Forgot
And
about that
then-
cigar cop.
And then and he's just constantly smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
And then he's like, tell us about White Fox or whatever the main bad guy's name is. And they're like, oh shit, don't bring up White Fox or whatever his name is, because they'll know that something's up.
Right.
And then he goes to talk to the woman from the grocery store to be like, oh, I have all these diamonds. What should I do? And she's like, well, I'm going to. Yeah, and then that's when they come and tear the fucking. That set, they must have built that
Did you know
set.
there's a strip club? There's a strip club
No.
at the back of her store.
Yeah, the girls sign. Yeah,
Yeah.
they show it a couple times. Yeah, you never see any evidence that there's actually. I just figured that was clever advertising by his uncle, being like they have the big porn sign, and then people just go and buy like some fresh produce or something.
Oh, well, while I'm here, I'll get a banana.
Yeah, exactly.
I got bananas on the brain. But the it says girls, 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 but you go in and it's guys, guys, guys. And that's cool. So I did like, I want to talk about this set for a second because I couldn't tell if they took a building and just took all of the like support out of it, and then they were just like, because this is another shot they could only do once. There's no way that they were able to like reset this shot.
Yeah.
But they clearly did some after work to the torn apart building because of the way the couch was hanging off precariously, the way everything like looked good. So I'd like to see how they did this whole scene because they pull half the building off of the building.
I assumed that they had built that entire, because it looked like it was just a giant parking lot, that they had built that thing into like the corner of some buildings. And even the interiors of it, it wasn't super fancy or anything. It didn't like I think the most impressive part of it was that there was a spiral staircase in the center of the grocery store. I was like, wow, fancy grocery store. I think you're probably right. They probably just built that whole thing in there, shot everything they needed on the interiors, and then just ripped it down for the final shots of it.
Yeah. But then after they tore it, they had to like rebuild it to look like a torn in half building.
Right.
So it would be cinematically nice.
Because I like when he's on the cell phone for the deal, and he's like standing right in the only raining water, like the pipe burst, and he's like standing. The woman is like standing up to the side, nodding, and he's on the cell phone in it. Like,
it reminded me of did you guys see the Popeye movie? You guys remember with Robin Williams?
Robin Williams.
It reminded me of certain scenes in that movie that were very much created for the movie because that takes place in a place over in the Mediterranean. Why can't I think of what it's called? Anyway, you can go on tours there, and they just took this island and turned it into like, Popeye land, like the where Popeye lives in this live action
like
Popeye movie,
a fishing village or whatever.
Yeah. And they did that. They clearly did that with this little alleyway that they built this set in. But was the grocery store a different place in reality? And then they built this secondary thing to be torn in half, or did they have this fully functional building that they just tore in half?
I think they probably built it all. Seems like the most cost-effective thing to do, unless they were already planning on ripping a building down and just were like, hold off for a couple of weeks while we film in here and then do it.
If they can afford that, why couldn't they afford a game for the Game Gear?
Yeah, Caylen, why don't you walk us through that bit, because Malta, that's where Popeye was shot, Malta. But yeah, why don't you tell the people about your thoughts about the Game Gear in this movie?
It drives me insane. It's driven me insane my whole life. The kid is playing a Game Gear with no game in it.
It is a massive oversight. It's a huge oversight. It happens in more movies than you'd think. Any movie that has an exposed game in it for a console or like a handheld, anybody who has ever even remotely had any experience with one is going to know that there's no game in that Game Boy. There's no game in that Game Gear. There's no game in that Super Nintendo. But they're playing games somehow.
Yeah. And right down to
the buttons the right way.
Right down to the first part where he hands him the Game Gear, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like that, you had mentioned it in one of our Instagram story posts, and I was like, oh, it's not that bad. He just gives him the Game Gear, but then later on, he's full on playing the Game Gear with sounds coming out of it that are not any sound of any game I've ever heard. On top of everything.
Yeah, I think that when they were in a time like this, they would be like, no one's gonna know. Only little kids will know, but all the little kids
maybe it could be clearance
adults.
or whatever, like licensing or whatever, because
I mean, you could rip the sticker off and no one would ever know what game it is.
They could literally just have put something. They could put a Game Boy game in there.
They could have had it hold it weird.
Yeah,
I play it like this, but like I watched this with a few friends, and immediately when the Game Gear comes through the window of the bus, my friend Matt was like, "There's no game in that." Like, right away. I was like, oh.
I can excuse the first one though. I can excuse the first one.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, for sure, but like he's giving it to him as a gift. With
there
no
should
game
be a game with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew the kid was poor.
The kid can't even afford a new cushion for his wheelchair.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard this? If you get someone a wallet as a gift, you have to put money in it.
Yes.
No.
But
it makes sense.
And I only have heard of that because when I was a kid, I was gifted a few wallets by relatives who were particularly superstitious, and there would always be a loony in there every time.
Ooh.
And I'd be like, "There's a loony in here," and they'd be like, "Yeah, you can't give a wallet without putting some money inside. It's bad luck."
I'm loonier than a Canadian dollar.
In your Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It would never be more than a loony, though. I wouldn't get anything more than that. So.
They're like, it's bad luck unless you put a $1,000 bill in 10-year-old brand new wallet.
What did you guys think of the gangsters? What's it called when you do a makeover or whatever? He's got the sweater tied over his shoulders, all preppy like.
Yeah, we all had a chuckle at that one. I'm like, yo, he's disguised as a tennis playing child. He like comes up on the kid's bike. He's like, Angelo.
And then he robs that kid for his pillow, and then while he's running away from multiple parents and things, he's tearing the pillow and realizes what he's done, and then runs faster. But he still has his face is all fucked from getting beaten up repeatedly.
I think that's just before that. Somebody runs up to the ice cream truck, and the guy's like, "Yeah, what would you like?" And he's like, "Can I have some ice cream?" And the guy's like, "Sure." And he just like gives him ice cream. I'm like, "That's what flavor of ice cream?"
It sounded exactly like that too because of the ADR. It's like the kid's like, "Hello," like the kid doesn't have a voice that matches his face. He doesn't sound. He sounds like a 15-year-old.
You can't see the guy's head who's ordering the ice cream. He could have said,
"Oh yeah,
give me a cone of vanilla or like anything," but instead he's like, "Give me ice cream."
Can I have the ice cream?
Yeah.
Do you think some of them did their own voiceover, or do you think it was?
I think Jackie Chan did his own VO for this movie.
Right, but what about
we all know what Jackie Chan sounds
like? North American actors, like they're still like you were saying, Steve. Like I was reading about it. Everyone speaks in their native tongue. Like, so some people spoke English, some people spoke Cantonese, et cetera, et cetera. And then the whole thing got redubbed. And I agree with you. I think it's to keep the consistency. But I'm curious if they got, North American actors to do their own redubbing, or if it was someone else completely.
I think
some of them kind of sound like how they look. Some of them don't.
None of the guys in the tuxedos though sounded like they looked. And the one guy, the very good gag, one of my other favorite gag in the movie is where he punches the goon in the face, and he's like, and then the kid's like, "Here, take this helmet," and he hits him with the helmet, and he's like, and then he takes out a giant wrench, and then the next scene is them both tied up.
That scene in particular is where I sniped the voice of that actor. The guy is not the actor doing that voice, and I know because the actor who was doing that guy's voice in particular is a voice actor primarily, and he does voices for anime, video games, all sorts of stuff. So my theory, based on that one moment where I'm like, I know this voice, I've heard this voice in a million cartoons and video games, is that they probably took the final cut of the movie to an animation studio and just got a bunch of voice actors that work in-house to do the additional voices outside of Jackie Chan, because Jackie Chan was at this point trying to become a household name in North America, and he wants to be able to do his own voice in movies when he's acting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that the likelihood of even a single one of those people doing their own voice is probably pretty low. They probably did it out of some sort of LA-based
Angelo kind of looked like how he sounded.
That doesn't mean anything. A good voice actor can make any voice come out of any face and have it match. That's why you hire good voice actors, right? It doesn't mean that it doesn't. I know what you're saying. I agree with you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it was that.
Batter up.
So
Hey,
like,
it's me, Angelo. Hey,
because
you
like,
guys.
what they would have had to have done is fly that guy from Vancouver to do his
You
own.
punched my already broken nose.
Okay. Anyway, I think I made my point.
He says, like,
Because you guys are just gonna
say,
start yelling the lines over top of me. That's fine.
but that's all good. That's funny. So essentially, what happens in the climax of the movie is the bad guys have a hovercraft and they're trying to like get away with the diamonds, I guess.
Yo, would
Jackie,
that crush you if you got ran over? Like, how bad would that be?
I think it
Especially in
would.
the sand.
I don't think it would suck the chrome off of a Lamborghini, but I think it would fuck you up pretty bad to get ridden over by it. But basically, what happens is Jackie Chan gets this Lambo. He gets a sword and just cuts the side of the fucking hovercraft in the best, stupidest, most cartoony, best, dumbest, smartest moment in cinematic history.
I mean, this whole movie is full of cartoon moments, right? Like that's like he turns into like a medieval times knight for a moment in a really fancy car with a sword. Not even a sword. It's like a sword with a saw on it. It's like a saw.
It's like a video game. It's like a video game RPG fucking cleaver.
And like 2 scenes before that, the cop who always has a cigar in his mouth, and it always looks like he just lit a full-length cigar like a second before, gets shot in his cigar. He gets shot in his cigar, like ding, like gets blown.
Not to mention the very end of the movie where they cut back to now Jackie Chan is driving the hovercraft and the side of the hovercraft is just duct taped back together, and then his now girlfriend who used to be a hired goon is like, do you know how to drive this thing? And he's like, yeah, of course I can. I'm sure I can. And then he drives over the bad guy, Silver Fox, or whatever the fuck's name is. Yeah. And when he drives over him, it just takes off the back of his clothes, and he's just got like what looks like some scratches.
That was a very anime thing to happen. He's just like, oh, just like his butt is showing. Oh, embarrassing for him.
You guys talk. We have about 15 minutes left. You guys talk for a second because I got to plug my phone in, or else we're going to end much sooner than that.
All right.
Oh, snap.
But yeah, what I was saying before is because I started recognizing a bunch of those voices, I realized that like this is filmed in Vancouver. They would have had to have like flown out specific people just to record their audio, but if they just have like a collection of voice actors, they're probably going to get like 5 people to do all the male voices and like 3 people to do all the female voices, which is why I think so many of the voices are so over the top. Is because it's like one guy doing 4 voices trying to like, okay, now we'll do this one, and now we'll do this one, and now we'll do this one, boss. So it's just like a guy doing a bunch of different voices, and that's why they're so cartoony. But also, the sign that you think that voice matches Angelo just means that the guy who did Angelo's voice knocked it out of the park, boss.
Well, when you said that, that's a great point. Like he
real of like the voice actors and then the actors, and
I didn't bother watching.
The voice actors was much shorter. You don't have to do that right now. I also.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay,
you sound
that.
gurgly. Oh, your quality is so low now.
Yeah, I know. I had to.
Where can I get those wrestling pajamas?
Which one?
The like onesie underwear.
Oh, it's a jumper.
Yeah.
It's called a jumper, and they came back into style in 2019, I think, very briefly.
So I guess what we can do instead of best kill, like we were doing for the horror movies, is best stunt.
Uh-oh. Is it me? Is my connection fucking up?
Your connection
you were
messed up
in rotation for a second there, but you're good.
Yeah, apologies, guys. I'm having some technical difficulties over here, but I think we're good now.
Favorite stunt? what was your favorite stunt?
My favorite stunt included him driving a Lambo. Probably when they showed how they did him getting dragged around behind the hovercraft on the water.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pretty good one. And you gotta mention jumping from one building to another building.
Mm-hmm. I did like a sunroof when he goes in the sunroof and the motorcycle almost drives on his nuts. That was scary. My favorite stunt though is during the hovercraft chase. There's a man in a wheelchair who's in the crowd, and as the hovercraft is coming, he gets out of his wheelchair and runs away. That was good.
There's that little baby
Stunt
that
or
got
a
thrown
gag,
like
though?
a doll.
Oh my god, yeah, I forgot about that. Baby stunts.
I liked when he tried to like get all like in between the wall and the truck. There's another, and then like he hits the side view mirror, hits his shoulder or whatever.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to pin down because there's so many. I mean, Jackie Chan movies are just, that's what they are, right? It's like, he's not the greatest actor in the world. You got to just wow them with your body.
Whoa. He is one of the best actors.
Okay.
Yeah, look at this. Look.
I mean, agree to disagree. Yeah, he's a good physical actor for sure. Actually, you know what? I've seen a couple things recently where he's not able to do as much crazy stuff. He still does lots of stuff for somebody who's like should be taking it easy.
That's how you stay young.
Yeah, how are your bones still so strong, Jackie Chan? But yeah, he's gotten pretty good with age. But he's still like, when you see him in interviews and stuff, he needs like a translator and shit. It's crazy. But I think he doesn't like live in LA or anything. He lives primarily in Hong Kong, I believe. He's also extremely wealthy. Like, he is wealthier than a normal celebrity. Like, when you go to Hong Kong, he's like owns everything. It's like,
well, he already had a full career before he started to become an American household name with this movie in 1995. Like, he was already a full on star.
Shitload of movies.
Yeah.
And I own a bunch of them.
I remember seeing an interview with Chris Tucker. I think it was. I have like all the Rush Hour movies. I really like them a lot. They're like they're good. I like them, and I know they're a little bit problematic now because Chris Tucker is insensitive to Asian culture. But oh god, yeah. What? No, I mean it in the movies. His character is just super racist. But in the 90s, you were allowed to just be super racist if you're a black person to Asian people, and no one cared. Nowadays, you can't do that anymore. Sorry, Chris Tucker. No Rush Hour 4. As much as I'd love to see a Rush Hour 4, that'd be great.
Or Friday 5.
Yeah, but also they became really good friends, like Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. But I remember seeing an interview with Chris Tucker, and he was like, I didn't fully understand Chris Tucker's wealth until I went to visit Hong Kong with Jackie Chan, and we were driving in...
You mean Jackie Chan's wealth?
Reverse. Sorry if I messed it up there. Yeah, just flip what I said. Chris Tucker is appreciating Jackie Chan's wealth while they're in Hong Kong, driving in a car together, and Chris Tucker would be pointing out landmarks and like hotels and casinos and being like, wow, look at that, that's crazy. And Jackie Chan would be like, I own that too. And he's like, what? You own all these things?
Jackie Chan has acted in 141 movies, to put it in perspective.
Nice.
Most actors we've dealt with in this show have high 70s.
Yeah.
If they're crazy long actors, mostly like around the 40s or 50s, especially for newer movies.
Right.
141 movies. So by the time he was in this, he was probably already in 60 movies. Because after this, he just becomes a household name, and when you become a household name, you just have to be in a movie a year. Right?
Put him in everything, and then also you cash in on his previous. They made a pack. I was reading about it. They made like a package deal with like the production company or whatever to like release his like previous movies or whatever under their name or something like that.
Yeah, he also was able to just license himself. You know, like he's like, I am a product now. Like you can just, he was like a Michael Jordan almost, where like you could just put his name on stuff and people would want it immediately. Or like, you know, like you could, very few celebrities would you be able to just tell who they are from their silhouette, I think is like something that was a staple of like Michael Jordan's fame, where you could just have the silhouette of his head and you'd be like, that's Michael Jordan. I know that because he puts his silhouette on everything. And Jackie Chan is the same way, where he would have his like leap through the air, similar to Michael Jordan's leap through the air that's still on shoes and shirts to this day. Jackie Chan had the same sort of leaping kick, and you'd be like, Jackie Chan, I know it.
It
Yeah,
also
cartoon
seems
show.
so, like it seems like Jackie Chan will take any movie. So is he the Chinese Nick Cage?
I would say that he's more like the Chinese Sam Jackson, because Sam Jackson
Okay,
is
but
good.
how many movies do you think Nick Cage has been in comparatively? How many movies do you think Nick? I have it pulled up here. How many movies do you think Nick Cage has been
Ooh,
in?
okay. Let me say.
Okay, you guess, then I guess.
He's been in a lot for sure. Nicolas Cage. Total movies he's acted in.
Yeah.
No.
Let me give me 99.
Okay, close. Steve?
I'm gonna say 115, and
Okay.
but I'm also gonna say that one of the reasons he's in so many movies is because he constantly gambles away all his money, and he just makes like a string of movies in a row to pay his debts.
I like that.
Um,
I like that storyline. Okay, I looked up Sam Jackson, and after talking about Jackie Chan, how many movies do you think Samuel L. Jackson's been in?
Samuel L.
Samuel L.
Jackson,
Jackson's
I
definitely
think,
been
has been in
in
100 and
And they're similarly aged. Keep that in
yeah,
mind.
yes. Sam Jackson is what, 72, I think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Sam Jackson has been in 184 movies.
Let
Okay,
me
Caylen?
let me go with I'll say 130.
Okay. This is gonna blow your fucking mind. Samuel L. Jackson has been in 199 movies.
Oh,
Nice.
that's crazy.
20 of them are Marvel movies.
Yeah,
But
I should have
but
added the Marvel movies. I would have been right there.
yeah, exactly. That's fucking crazy, dude. Wow, we taught a little something this week. So we have we've got 10 minutes left.
Right.
We went over. I think we've talked about everything we wanted. I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about. I got to start the show off doing the ridiculous VO accent, as I like to call it. Um,
There is one thing I wanted to mention, which was a gag early on in the movie, which is when he is in the convenience store and he's looking through
yeah,
the one two-way
we
mirror,
forgot to
and
talk about this whole sequence.
then he's like looking at himself, and then he's like working out slightly, and then he like pops a zit in secret. I was like, oh my God, how embarrassing. But then all I could think in my head was like, those are all things that I know I have done in a mirror when I thought that no one was looking, and it was very realistic. Like I've done every single thing that he did in those mirrors, I have done in a public place.
Do you
I
pop
didn't think
pimples
anyone would
that
see me.
way?
Do I pop pimples that way? Like,
Yeah. Is that your method, your style for popping pimples?
just squeezing them? Yeah. How is there another way? What's the other way? Knife?
I'm trying to think. I feel like sometimes there might have been once or twice where instead of trying to push out, I've tried to like spread the skin or whatever back so that it goes out on its own.
Oh my God. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. That actually made me almost want to gag. You describing that.
So, just before I move on from the two-way mirror, there's this YouTube video game kind of show that used to be on. It's since gone it's called Funhouse. But when they first opened up shop, they in the studio they had was a two-way mirror right on like Santa Monica Boulevard, and the things that would happen in the background were chef's kiss. Unfortunately, the two main guys left. One of the guys became turned out he was a sex pest. So.
Oh no.
Yeah. Okay, so our final segment of the show is always our final rating. I'm gonna go first because I want to, and and
Rude.
essentially this movie, I'm gonna give it a pretty high rating, guys. I really enjoyed watching it. It was fun. It was entertaining. Like Caylen said at the top of the show, it starts off with some shit happening, and the shit does not stop happening. For a runtime of 87 minutes or whatever, um, it's an hour and like 27 minutes.
Yeah, it's a
It
shorty. It's like a Disney
it
length.
Mine says
exact
131.
okay. The one that I bought off Amazon, um, was one like 27 or 28.
I've heard there's a few different versions of it.
I believe that because I think this is very famously a movie that was made in China and brought over here. Like
Kind of,
Drunken
yeah.
Master is another one of
It was
those.
shot in Vancouver.
Yeah,
We know
like
this.
No,
it wasn't.
but like
Yeah,
it was
no, it
shot in
was
Vancouver.
financed and produced by a Chinese company, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like everything was good, and it was good in that like you know slanted comedy. What do you keep calling it?
Stunted
Stilted,
comedy.
stunted. Oh, stunted comedy, like it's
Like
stunts.
they're getting punched and jumping and doing
Yeah.
stunts.
Stunted comedy and also like subversive comedy and also almost like a early live action anime before they really started to pop off. Like every other action movie now is a live action anime, but back in
Yeah.
the '90s they were few and far between, if any, until The Matrix. And this one felt like I was watching a Shonen Jump episode of something like One Piece or Berserk or not Berserk. What's the fucking Naruto? Like the same kind of comedy. Um, I'm gonna give this my fucking movie a 4.5, you guys,
Ooh.
Holy
because
moly, that's
yeah,
high as heck.
it holds up so well to me for what it is. It does everything perfectly, and Jackie Chan is flawless in his role of the like, I don't know, I'm just from China, I don't know, and then he just kicks everybody's ass constantly. But he still has like the hero's journey while he's doing it, where he doesn't know how to like fight these guys because they use dirty tactics. But when he has to like get it together and he has to get a crew together to like take down the real bad guys, he's able to do it. And I know that's high, and I feel like I should have like I'm pretty sure I gave like Halloween like a 2.5,
Yeah, you did.
and comparatively,
I think you gave it a two flat, like a flat two.
yeah, like comparatively, these movies both did certain things for their genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just had more fun. It's all about fun here, folks. For me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sticking by my 4.5, and I ended that movie and I said this is a fucking piece of cinematic history.
Gee whiz, that is
Yeah,
high praise. Cinematic history.
I think just it gave us Jackie Chan, and all of his movies kind of pale in comparison to it. I mean,
He's got one or two.
Drunken
Legend of the
Master and
Drunken
like Super
Master
Cop
is fucking dope.
and The Tuxedo, of course, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt.
We can never forget the tuxedo. Every girl's crazy about a well-dressed man.
Yeah, I assume that was in the trailer. Um, but yeah, so you guys can Rochambeau for who goes next.
I can go if you. I mean, it's up to you, Caylen.
I'm gonna. Well, I'll keep the consistency of going last for this month.
Sure, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I very much enjoyed this movie. As I said, I watched it with a group of friends. There were 4 of us in total.
Ooh.
Throughout, we all kept being like, couldn't really remember if we had seen it, but we all were certain we had seen it at some point. Most of us remembering different points throughout, and like my friend Matt, he didn't remember until the very end when the mafia boss is running away and the hovercraft is coming. He's like, "Oh yes, this is the only thing I remember about this movie is this point." And I was like, "I only remember the hovercraft too, man, but I kind of forgot about the golf man running away in a very classic golf outfit. Like he looked like he was, those like whiskey bottles that are figurines of people. that seemed like a Scotch or something. He was wearing the outfit of like a golfer that would be a Scotch bottle. Anyway, I was entertained the entire time. I was laughing a lot, and I think I was laughing at stuff that was supposed to be over the top funny. And then there was also like little cute jokes that I believe were at the time probably not like ha 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 that's great, but like we were like gut busting at points. Like there was a point where she's crying, the gang woman is crying, and then the little kid is like, "This is my sister, isn't she pretty?" And then he's like, "Well, not right now, because she's crying." And I was like, "That is funny as heck." I loved the little drinking game that we were playing, which was Spot the Rockies, where every time you see the Rocky Mountains, you take a sip of your drink.
Nice.
As is every Jackie Chan movie, the stunts were amazing. I have no idea if it will hold up in my memory because I did realize near the end of the movie that I had seen it before, and 90% of the movie had been lost to me to time, and I hadn't remembered any of it. And I had like filled in blanks with other Jackie Chan movies and been like, "Isn't there a part where this happens?" It's like, no, that's a different movie. um, I liked the sort of limitation of it. It felt like it's supposed to take place in Brooklyn, but it felt like it was all sort of contained within this small community, and the outside forces were these like mafia guys. But everything else felt like it was just like a sort of like a small
like a
turf
box.
war. Yeah, like I liked it. I liked the cartooniness of it. From minute one, I was like, this is going to be super cartoony, isn't it? Like even when he's like practicing with that wooden, I don't know what those things are called, but he's like hitting it.
Okay,
The guy just
dummy.
used, yeah, the practice dummy, and the guy just uses it to hang his suits on or whatever.
He's like,
But like yeah,
immediately.
and there's like the dust is coming off of it and stuff, and like it's like doing the slow zoom in. I'm like, this is gonna be super cartoony. I know it. And then a second later, oh yeah, a kid in a wheelchair. It's like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be a cartoon movie.
Live
And it only
action
got
cartoon.
cartoonier and cartoonier as it went. Like it didn't let go of that cartooniness. Like the entire time, it was just getting more and more absurd in a good way. Um, and I found myself like rooting for characters, and then when they do like the gang twist, where I'm like, are these guys friends now? And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, do I like these gangsters now? Are they good people? My one issue with the movie is that they run over the mafia boss. He's he goes to jail. I don't know. You don't know because they run him over and then it ends. Like they're laughing that they got him and the movie ends. And I would have liked to have seen a bunch of diamonds go to rebuild the store. The gang members decide to help the community. Like I would have liked to have seen these things. Like instead of seeing the gag reel at the end where everybody's breaking their wrists and ankles, give me like a little like 3 minutes of the community coming together to rebuild the absolute chaos that they rumbled through the Bronx. But at the end of the day, I enjoyed it a lot. I'm not going to give it quite as high as you did, Jason. I'm going to give it a 38 or whatever, 88% out of 100. I think it was really good. I think that I will probably revisit it again, but most of all, it made me want to go back and watch a bunch of the other Jackie Chan movies that I haven't watched since I was a kid or in a few years at least, you know? I forget sometimes that I'm like, I love Jackie Chan movies. There's a very specific character to Jackie Chan movies, in terms of like storytelling, tone, and like world building within the world that they're trying to convey. And I miss that sometimes because it's like something that is very connected to my childhood. So yeah, good pick, Caylen.
Before we get to Caylen again, I just wanted to say one more thing where to what you're saying with Jackie Chan specifically, I love fight choreography. I'm a huge fan of professional wrestling, and I'm a huge fan. I'm watching Cobra Kai right now, and the fight choreography in that, even though it's kids, it's next level.
I need more Cobra Kai.
This comes out in December, season 4. This movie is some of the best fight choreography I've seen in a very long time, and I really just want to go also watch all the Jackie. We should do a Jackie Chan month if we have room for it next year. Sorry, Sorry, go ahead, Caylen. It's you got the floor, buddy. Let's take it home.
You stuff your stories in a sack, and I'm all for a Jackie Chan month. I got a bunch of them. A bunch of his like old ones from China, and then a bunch of his like North American ones. Did you want to say anything about the wood chipper before I?
Oh
I
God.
mentioned it very briefly. The two scenes in this movie that are completely different than the rest of the movie are the bottle scene, which we talked about, and the Fargo-esque wood chipper scene, which might have
We had a big argument, or not an argument, but a discussion, being like, do you think that the Coen brothers were watching this movie in theaters and they're like, that's what our script needs? A wood chipper.
but it's way more graphic in Fargo. Like they show the
Yeah,
sister,
obviously, but
but yeah, that's an interesting. They came out around the same time, but I don't know which one came out first.
Fargo came out a year afterwards.
According to my DVD,
we looked it up.
This has 96, 97 on it.
No, we looked up everything last night because we were trying to figure out which came first.
Yeah.
The wood chipper of Steve Buscemi or the wood chipper of whatever that guy's
Hired
name was.
goon.
Yeah. Shirtless goon with straps.
Goon number 4.
Yeah. But yeah, this one came out just before Fargo, and we had decided that the Coen brothers were trying to find an end stinger for Fargo, and they realized they needed a wood chipper, and Rumble in the Bronx is what broke that camel's back for them, where they're like, of course, wood chipper.
Nice. Yeah. I got to give a shout out to Tony's hoodie tucked into his leather pants.
Yeah.
Yep. I have to give a shout out to that. So I said before, this movie is it's a ride. It's simple, but like it works for it. Like it doesn't get over convoluted with anything. I even like the voiceover dubbing. Like you can see that it's bad, but like it's good bad almost.
Yeah, it adds a charm to the movie, I would say.
I think it was a choice. I seriously think it was a choice.
Yeah. The name Rumble in the Bronx it sticks, I feel. It's got a great strong name to it. Jackie Chan's doing his thing. It's got the action, it's got the comedy. Like I said, it's a ride pretty much from beginning to end, and then he ends off with him giving the thumbs up. I'm actually going to rate this super high just because I'm in the mood. I'm going to give it a 4.5 as well, because it's a movie I could throw on anytime and still enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Like this might become a comfort viewing movie for me, because I like every scene is awesome. Okay, well that's been this week's episode of Hated to See This One. I want to ask a very important question to not only you guys but our viewers. But hey, see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
I did. I saw it. Oh.
For Stephen Caylen, of course, always. I am Jason.
For Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
For Caylen and Jason, I am Steven.
And we'll see you next time when we cover the hit movie that Caylen will say right now.